Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we're going to be doing another Get Fit With Me series, yoga edition. Today we're going back to my girl. Wow, I almost drew a blank. It is yoga with Nico. But that's like her handles if you were to ever try to find her. But also her channel name is called Black Yogi Nico Marie. So we're going to go back to her because today also, and I'm going to be posting this probably a day or two later. So the 22nd of April is Earth Day. Happy Earth Day. Happy Earth Day. Without Earth, we would not be here. So hello, Earth Day. I might need to fact check. Yeah, no, we wouldn't be here without Earth. Wow, you kind of saw how my brain worked just a little bit right there. Side note, when it comes to my brain, sometimes I get ahead of my thoughts. It's like, but then some people may call it manic, if you will. You do the math on all that. Anyway, neither here nor there. But with this practice that she has today, it's about 20 minutes. And it's called Grounding Earth Day, which actually seems appropriate because the Earth, you know, when you think of Earth, especially for those who are into the zodiacs of it all, you think of groundedness, staying grounded, staying on Earth, if you will. You know, all these things you hear, and it's about Earth. So I think that's kind of cool that she kind of added that in the name of her practice. And she just posted this, I would say, 3 hours ago. So we're going to get right to her channel. Like, we're going to help her get those views right away. How about that, right? Anyway, without further ado, before I get ahead of myself again, because we notice that's a pattern of mine, I do want to also mention the candle that I'm burning today. And I know y'all are going to get sick of me plugging this, but when you have a best friend that has a business, you're going to plug their stuff too. And I think I've said it before, and I'm standing on the hill. But anyway, the candle I'm featuring in this video is Enchanted Rock Stargaze. So it's not part of the Bougie collection or the the tin can collection. It's like one of the original candles that he created. So from Wandering Star Candles, I'm not going to put the commercial in this video. I try to do it like once a week though, just because I'm excited that my friend has his own business and I'm going to plug it. Just like he's been plugging my channel, you know, teamwork, right? Anyway, but it smells musty. It reminds me of Earth. It actually kind of reminds me of this practice. I was trying to be intentional about what candle I use based off the practice of what we're doing today. With it being Earth Day, I want a smell of groundedness. And to me, this smells grounded. Even though it's called Enchanted Rock, because it is still the rock, but we're stargazing. So we're still looking at the stars, but we're enchanted. Rock. I might be reading too much into this. I'm keeping all this in here because I don't know. Anyway, without further ado, because I am rambling and I am kind of probably procrastinating just a little bit, let's get right into the practice. So we are starting this grounding practice in a comfortable seat in a seated position. After we are in the seated position for quite some time, just doing a lot of things to warm up, including a lot of stretching at the beginning, we are now transitioning to a tabletop position. With this tabletop position, we're going to be doing this on both sides, where we basically thread the needle and stretch our shoulders on each side. And now we are making our way to downward facing dog. On the downward facing dog, we are making our way back to the front of the mat in a downward forward bend. Once being in downward forward bend for some time, we then do make our way to mountain pose and kind of do a little bit of a sequence within mountain pose, also incorporating a slight back bend. Now from there, we are going to transition to doing a tree pose on each side. And in between the tree poses on each side, we are going to also transition to an eagle. As you can tell, my balance today wasn't the best, but hey, this is why it's called a practice, right? A grounding practice would not be complete without Warrior 2 sprinkled in there. As we know, I love my warriors. So in the video, I was singling, there's 3 different options of what you can do for tree pose. One is just right above your ankle. 2 is right below your knee, but not actually on your knee. And then the other is above your thigh. It doesn't look like it, but I am still above my knee and right into my thigh. It used to be higher in the past, but you know, with age and not practicing, the flexibility is not what it used to be. After we finished that full-on sequence, which did include the standard forward bend, the tree poses on each side, the eagle pose on each side, and the warrior 2, we were back to standard forward bend, getting ready for the next move. And the next move is we're going to move our feet as wide as a yoga mat and do a yoga squat or goddess squat. That's next. From the yoga squat, we go back down to standard forward bend and then end up in downward facing dog before we transition to doing a little bit more floor movement again. Now, this pose I'm doing right now is high key worth the praise for me because I haven't been able to do a hero pose in a very, very long time because of my lack of flexibility and my hamstrings being so tight. So the fact that I'm doing this pose and it feels somewhat comfortable in this practice, it's everything. The hero pose, and of course I did still need a little bit of assistance with the pillow. We are making our way to lying on our back. Included in this, we do a little bit of a happy baby pose and then also a nice hug of our knees and our chests as well. Now here we are slowly actually concluding the practice, but we are doing some meditation here. And you have two options, and that's what I was singling in the video. You can either do your meditation in corpse pose, or you could do what I did and do your meditation in meditation seated pose. This last pose is going to be wrapping up our practice soon. We were in meditation pose for actually about 5 minutes, so that does conclude the practice though. Hi, so that concludes the yoga practice, and I love this lady. She's very, very good. That's kind of why I paused for a second, because I'm just like, wow, this was a 10. The rating for this yoga practice, it was a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. She did that. She did that. She did. It was 20 minutes. It was exactly what I was looking for within the 20 minutes. And I mean, again, this is very opinion and subjective based, but for what I was looking for, it was everything I wanted and also more. And this is why I rated a 10. These are the reasons why I rated a 10. Number one, I think I mentioned before, I love her voice. Her voice is just very soothing, but not like sleepy time soothing. It's just like a perfect, you're present, she keeps you aware, but also relaxing for when you're, trying to wind down on the practice, or even if you're trying to meditate during the practice, because you have options. And that leads to number 2. She gave me options. So if you noticed during the practice when I was doing the video, I was like 1, 2, 3. Those are 3 different options of how to do tree pose. I was literally doing what she did in the video. She also gave you a couple of options of how to do eagle pose. I kind of tried to do that a little bit. I didn't really do it on one side, but the other side I did. Also, too, another thing that she did was that portion while I was in the hero pose, I ended up getting the pillow. That was actually suggested of one of the things you could do, because I think I've mentioned before in previous videos, because I am a runner, my hamstrings are, they're always tight. So poses like hero pose, or even when you see me do extended child's pose and regular child's pose, I can't go as far down as what like a yoga instructor can, because my hamstrings are like always, they're really, really tight. And then my quads are always, you know, because of my active lifestyle of being a runner and really naturally never being flexible. Even before I was like an athletic person, I by nature have never been someone who has naturally had flexibility, if you will. Even as a kid, it was a struggle. So, but yeah, so that's why she gave you the option with the hero pose to either use a bolster or a pillow. I don't have a bolster, so I used a pillow, or a block. Actually have a block, I just didn't have it out today. But I think for future practices, I'm gonna need to start bringing the blocks and some of the other props that I have. And I also need to get another strap. I think I mentioned last video, but I'm getting distracted a little bit here. So the other thing that she even mentioned with that hero pose, if you're someone who has bad knees and the hero pose just does not feel good, she said just skip it altogether. So I'm not at that point where I'd skip it altogether, but it's very much do what you know your body can do. If you're not sure and you think you might hurt yourself, leave it alone. Try it another time. You know what I mean? It's not worth having to have an emergency, having to go to the emergency room to try something you weren't so sure about and you kind of were like hesitant on. But anyway, so that was another thing I liked, is there was just options. Even the last pose that I even got to, so at the very end, there was another option. So you saw I started with corpse, but then I switched over to meditation pose. Those were the two options. And for me, today, just where my mindset, whatnot is in, I felt the need to meditate. I didn't really want to do the corpse pose because for me, a lot of times, and this is one thing, I'm going to try to be a little bit more intentional when I look at yoga practices or look for yoga practices, even though I, at the same time, want to review them as I'm doing it, because I don't want to just review something I already did before. That's not really fair. I think part of the fun and part of what this niche channel is for me is to do it and then give you a right then and there review of how I feel about the practice and whether you should visit their channel or even visit that particular practice or not. So back to what I was saying though, for that last pose, I personally felt like I needed to do meditation pose because with a corpse pose, a lot of times I associate that with winding down. Even though at the end, she does have you get up and, get back to C position, come back to earth. But one of the things I have learned about myself this year, especially when I went on like my little spiritual retreat that I went on, it's hard for me to come back down to earth naturally. So like my third eye is overly open. And you would never think you would hear that, but like I learned that about myself and it makes so much sense why I always can see things ahead of time. I usually can see the play on things ahead of time. I'm not going to get into that too much because I know not everyone believes in that, but my discernment discerns. Let's just put it like that. If you're someone who don't believe in that, but you can at least identify with discernment, yeah. My discernment's always giving what needs to be gave. Whether I personally listen to it or not, that's a whole nother thing. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But my discernment is always on point. But with that being said, lately, especially with what's been going on in my life lately, I've just been outside of myself at times, if that makes sense. So this practice, I needed the practice, to be honest with you. And so that's the other reason why I chose the meditation at the very end of the practice. And I love that she even gave you that option. And so when she gave me that option, and another thing I noticed, another reason why I rated her a 10, because this is the reason why I'm ranting and raving, because this was everything to me, let me tell you. I'm also gonna just post this particular one at the end of the video, this particular practice, because I want you to go directly to it. It was that good. It was that freaking good to me. To me, it was great. But the other thing I like too is when you are in the meditation pose, and I mentioned this before in previous videos about her being soothing, but I never really got into it. When she's painting a picture for you while you're meditating, it's so good. I actually can really picture what she's saying, so I stay present and I'm very much into the meditation. And for someone, if you're someone who tries to meditate and you have a difficult time meditating, like me, I'm horrible at it. I'm not really someone who's really good at meditating. I'm not someone who's really good at relaxing, period, meditating. So if you have someone who can paint a picture and keep you in that mode, it's everything. It is everything. I feel energized now, which is weird. You would think meditation winds you down. That's not what it does. It gets us sharp. It gets you more, you know, where you're not all over the place. And not to dig into my personal life too much, but lately, like when it comes like my personal situation, I'm a happy person. I'm happy right now. I'm actually not really in a funk. Well, around this time last year, that was not quite true. But because I'm just coming out of that, you know, it's been about a year and some change since I've been out of that kind of funk. I'm in a new discovery of self, if that makes sense. And I think also too, which is another false thing before I go back to the personal myself, is that there's a misconception that once you come of age, you know, your teenage years and young adult years, that work is over. No, it's a lifelong work, you know? And if you really recognize that, you're doing great. That's all that matters. If you recognize that you working on yourself is a lifelong work, you're good to go. And for me, I'm very aware of that. And so this year has been like a year of self-discovery. And so a lot has happened. And consequences of that, people who I thought belonged in my life for no longer in my life, all good for me. Because if you can't handle what... It's just one of those things, you know? And it's part of being an adult, to be honest with you. It's not even just about self-discovery. It's just, that's what happens. But, because I wasn't going to go negative with that. I refuse. But, with that being said, though, because I've been in this journey of self-discovery along with doing this, you're seeing me grow in front of your eyes, basically. And yeah, so, and yoga is one of those practices where if you are someone who is spiritual, it's a very spiritual practice. So it brings you, thoughts sometimes come up while you're meditating. And that's where my head went while I was meditating. I'm like, wow, what has happened? A lot has happened. And for me, it's not even been, the pandemic isn't all that's happened with me. It's been even before all that. You know what I mean? I've had a lot that's happened since in the past 10 years. You know, and the funny thing is, I would say the first 10 years before that last 10 years was a lot had happened there, but I don't think I wasn't present, and I wasn't really, you know, taking it in and sitting with it. Now when things happen, I sit with it, I think about it, I analyze it. It's a whole thing. But back to the practice, the reason why we're even here, this is a 10. It's just a 10. Also, she did mention at the very end, I want to say it because it's, you know, she's plugging something, so I'm going to plug something for her as well. She does have membership options. If you want to be a member, you check out a couple of her stuff and you like it and you want to be a member, you could do that. I'm not quite committed to that yet because I'm checking out a whole bunch of other yogi YouTubers. I most likely probably will at some point, because when I really support a content creator, I support them. I have a couple of content creators I like follow, like I subscribe to their Patreon and all that. Anyway, so then the other thing I was going to mention as well is she also has merch. So for me, I might actually try to see what her merch is giving. Also, I will say this too about her channel, because I did kind of try to peruse it after this practice because I was so impressed with this practice. I was like, let me peruse this lady's channel, see what else she got going on it. So she also has a meditation. If you're someone who just wants to meditate, she has meditation practices. She has practices for, she has like 7-day challenges if you want to do that. I already mentioned, I think in one of the first videos I did of hers, she does 30-day yoga challenges like at the beginning of the year, similar to Yoga with Adrian, but it's her version and her style of it. And so it's not that, I wouldn't say it's a Yoga with Adrian thing. I think it's just a lot of yogi people do that. So I'm not trying to like say it's one person versus the other. And I just plugged another yogi person, but anyway, that was the only thing I could compare her to, which I'm not trying to compare. But the other thing that she has also, which I'm going to probably check out on my own, or I might bring you with me, depending on what you guys think. Comment in the comments what you think on if I should do this or not. She has some astrology-based yoga. And as you probably have in this video today, I've alluded to a couple times, I do somewhat pay attention to that stuff. I don't believe in it thoroughly, like to the point where like I literally, you know, move my life around it. Like I still live my life accordingly, but it's interesting what some of that says after the fact I do it. And then I'm just like, interesting. So anyway, she does have that too, if you're into that. She also has, if you are into the recreations of it all, the 420s of it all, because we know that passed as well. She has practices for that as well. And also I did see she has some beauty and lifestyle stuff on there too, because she has locks. So I was like, okay. Little mix and mastering, if you will. So I dropped my remote again. It never fails. But anyway, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel though. If you get anything out of this content, and again, 10 out of 10 for this practice. And I will see you next time. Bye.